Hey, what's up everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics. Hope you're having a great day. Today's video is going to be on drawing hands, but I'm going to show you a little bit different approach than what I normally might do. Generally, I just start drawing out the hands, and I'm going to show you a couple poses where I do that too. But I want to show you how to use reference to kind of find your style. I get a lot of questions on my channel about how do I find my style. I think that naturally occurs over time, but this might give you some insight on how to, you know, study from life, but then in turn create your own style from it. So we'll go ahead and get started as I've already done here. What I'm going to show you is the way I like drawing hands basically, and this isn't the right way or the wrong way or whatever, it's just the way I do it. So you can try to adopt this method or embellish it, whatever you think works for you. But I kind of draw these, cylinders like this, or I guess ovals I should say, but I'm picturing cylinder shapes underneath as I do it. So, you can draw the cylinders first, but I think that if you get really effective with drawing these ovals like this, you really won't need to. It's kind of a very flowing process for doing this type of stuff. Now, the underlying structure that I would think is, kind of this wedge shape like this. Draw that in there and then Control Z back. And then, obviously the cylinder shapes that I was saying I picture underneath like that. The problem I have with drawing sometimes the cylinder shapes and then adding the other ovals over top is that it's real easy to make the hand look overly structured and intense. So what I like to do is draw these oval shapes and kind of envision it. And that probably comes from practice too. So, you'll just want to find what works best for you. I'm just going to give you certain tips about what I see when I study this photo. Now, keep in mind, this photo here is just some hand shots I took of me posing my hand in front of the camera, doing silly stuff. But then also I take it into Photoshop. I do some blur. You can do noise and what is it, dust and scratches, and some line work over top. And the reason I did that, I blurred out the background. I'm trying to change your focal from being, or your focus being from looking at a picture in a photo to just studying the shapes. So that's why I did that. If you're wondering why it's all mucky looking and I changed it, that's my reasoning behind that. Now, if you don't get easily distracted with stuff like that, then just look at the picture. It's not a big deal. I just thought for the few moments it would take me to bring it into Photoshop and adjust it, it allows me to look past, maybe I'm seeing stuff in the background, getting distracted or whatever by all the, other stuff that I can look at. You know, it's just better for me. So if that works for you, cool, try it. If not, no big deal. All right, so the other thing I've talked about in other videos with drawing the hands, I like filling in the fingernails almost immediately. To me, they're easy to show. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? It's easy. It's easy to show depth when you draw those in. So to me, they allow me to, define where the finger is pointing. Like here, I had the pinky drawn the wrong way there, but if I want to, define that pinky really fast, to me, I can show where it's pointing by drawing the pinky nail like this. Just real quick, easy, distorted square or whatever. And then boom, I can show now, that the finger to me is going like this, like this, like this. Then we come over to the photo, kind of check the work. Yeah, it's about like that. Now the other thing is this. I'm not trying to mimic, if I wanted this hand, I could just trace it, but that's not obviously going to make me a stronger artist and better at what I'm doing. Uh, I'm just saying that what I'm really going for isn't an exact replication as much as it is me trying to stylize the hand that I'm seeing there. For instance, if you're drawing up from a photo and you do it verbatim, then it's not going to look very hero-esque or whatever the word is. You need to embellish that. So, and back to what I was saying about people asking me about how do they find their style. This is what it's all boiling down to. That's what I'm trying to explain here is that the process in which you do something like this helps you to find that style. I think it naturally happens, but because you're basically going to lock onto things you think look cool, And that's really where your style comes from. Like, oh, I think it'd be cool to shade like this or do my line work like that. That's where you develop your style. But all of it should be from a basis of realism. If not, I think that your drawing may lack. May have no um, solidarity or whatever. And don't think that you're going to be able to get that from copying your favorite artists. The only problem I have with that, I don't necessarily think you cannot learn from your favorite artists. I definitely think you can learn from them. But the only problem with copying them is that you just become a copy of a copy, and that's, for one, that's not, you're never going to really, I don't know, make it anywhere with that kind of attitude in art, I think. You'll get good, don't get me wrong. I see some really great artists out there that you could tell they're definitely have a fan of another artist, they're a fan of another artist or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But the only bad thing is you're not going to get better. I don't know if it's about really getting better than somebody, but you're not going to become as good or as famous or whatever you're looking for, as successful as that guy, because they already have one of those guys. And art's all about style, so you're better off just really honing in your skills and coming up with your own thing. And I think that happens if you study more realism and then develop your own style, and then maybe study other styles to gain perspective, but not to, again, not to mimic them and become them, um, like some kind of hermit crab or whatever, move into their shell. But so you see, all I'm doing there is structuring it out. I got some flaws there, definitely. What I'm seeing that just sticks out all of a sudden. I made the index finger way too small. So, and the beauty of this is I can just kind of swing it over there and check my work, but I'm trying not to do that because, again, I want this overall to be stylized too. I don't want it to be, me trying to recreate that hand in a realism effect. If you notice, each time I sketch over, I just change things. I move the line work around just a little bit. I darken some lines. I get rid of some lines. To me, the art process, in a lot of ways, is just refinement. Um, you know, some guys definitely can see stuff better in their head right out the gate, so they may have an unfair or just a bit of an advantage on that end. But I really don't. I don't know. The more I study art, the more I don't think that I think anybody can do it. I honestly do. I mean, I definitely have a passion for it, and I've always drawn ever since I can remember. But I start feeling like it's just kind of a trained thing, and the only real difference is the people with the passion for it are able to do it in such uh, amount of time of practice and not get bored with it, so they eventually become better. And then down the road, people go, oh my god, you're so good at drawing, how did you get like this? Like, you just magically drew. And nobody talks about the boxes of artwork they got stashed under their bed or in their closet, um, which are really bad drawings. But yeah, so there's that. And I guess I could check. Oh, let me check it. I did it all in one layer. Goodness. Sorry. Let me rectify that problem. Control X, Control V is cut paste. So it's in the ballpark. I don't think it's a replication, but again, I don't want that. But it's in the ballpark. And and what I've translated now is the feeling and the emotion of that hand into a line art rendition over here. And then now I can do all kinds of crazy stuff. I can add, to me, I was thinking like somebody casting, you know, shooting magic or power or whatever. Um, so you can start drawing like some crazy energy or power or whatever. It's pretty bad power. Hold on. Maybe there's just a little spark off the finger, and it comes off to the thumb. Whatever. Okay, this isn't about power. This is about hands. So all right, I'll call that one done. Oop, I'm grabbing all the wrong buttons today. All right, now grab another layer. We'll do the fist. And the reason I did the hand shape um, like that, I guess in between that, I'm going to show you one other thing. All right, back to the oval thing I was telling you about, and that kind of, to me, applies to more like foreshortening kind of poses. Even though this is an extreme foreshortening, there's some foreshortening going on there. This is another way I like to do it. And the other thing I want to mention is that there's going to be certain hand types that from drawing them over and over, you're just going to kind of memorize. And I guess that's what I'm going to show you here real quick. It's not so much that, you know, this isn't the easiest hand pose, not the hardest by any means, but it's just that I've done it so many times. I kind of have this shorthand uh, ability to draw it. I'm not looking obviously at any reference. It helps that I just practice and drew a hand always. That's always going to help you create more hand poses and draw the next thing and the next thing. Um, so I've actually heard that big time professional artists that stamp this stuff out, they actually don't like going. One of the reasons artists get labeled for staying up all night is because once they're kind of on a hot streak and the art's flowing, they don't want to stop and they want to pump out a bunch of work. And I can relate. I don't have deadlines like that oftentimes, um, but it's funny how that works. You almost get in the zone. All right, so there's my rough, and that's, you see, that was just some ovals and some blocked lines. It wasn't nothing too crazy. And then I can just come back through, refine it a little bit more. Obviously the fingers got three segments, so I do this kind of like line before the line before the line, to show that the foreshortening or the perspective on the fingers there. Round the tip of the finger, make sure that the middle finger is the biggest, obviously, and then round the line, and that's pretty easy. And then always show the separation there. The hands always show that separation unless it's really, unless one finger is just really blocking the other. So you got to remember that because it's real easy to want to draw the fingers real tight together, and I think it stands out immediately as not being as impactful or as correct or whatever. And the other thing that it's always good to remember is these little bumps from the palm, and at this part of the palm to the thumb is the larger mass. And always to draw, think of this as kind of these fleshy, bulky masses. Um, oops, and it comes out a little bit better. And the other thing is there's always this webbing here, right there from the thumb. And which way was this pointed? I always get this part mixed up. There's obviously two. That looks funky, doesn't it? There's two segments to the thumb. The third segment is the big fleshy mass here. That's actually the third appendage, or third, I shouldn't say appendage, segment to the thumb, where you see all three in the finger. Oh, that's where I messed up. I knew something wasn't looking right. Doy. All right, let me fix that. I only had two segments to that index finger. So right there, I mean, not perfect by any means, but you can see it's already starting to take form. The other thing is think of the hand as this top piece kind of has a bend in there, and then you get these little wrinkles in between. It's always good to show that too. I think you get a little bit more fleshy, kind of realistic hand if you do that. Then there's always these little wrinkles right under the wrist where the wrist turns down, and then the forearm or whatever. So there's another hand pose, and that one's just out of the brain box. But like I said, I've done that style of hand pose so much, that's one of my easy ones. That's like one of my go-to ones if I, you know, can't think of a hand pose or something. And that's the other thing you develop as you draw more and more of this. You come up with these ones that you're just so comfortable with that you just kind of go to that. Um, when the deadlines are pressing or when you're sick of drawing or whatever the case may be. All right, so one more fist pose here. Reason I did this is because the fist is so prevalent in comic books. Obviously, I mean all hand poses are important because they just tell so much story. But the fist is obviously just really popular in the comics because without the fist you can't punch somebody in their face. So there's lots of face punching going on in comics. Sorry, it's the truth. All right, so and I shouldn't be doing it like this, but I'm actually just kind of looking at the picture and dancing around the lines here. Nothing wrong with that. This is just basically silhouette drawing. Certain things I will go to that because, like, to me, this is an easy shape and it's going to be quicker for me to do that than try to draw on all these little shapes inside. Um, but I guess that's what I should do, right? I should show you the way I really would do something. So no sense of me doing it the other way if I would just come back and do it this way. So I'll just keep it real here. All right, so thing to remember, I always had this problem where I would draw a pose like this and I would take the line and go right to the knuckles like that. And I go, why does it look wrong? Well, that's because you gave it too many pieces in the fingers there, and it's funny how, our eyes immediately pick up what's wrong, but then we don't always know why it's wrong. And that's where the figuring out part comes in. Okay, now I guess one of the things, and I kind of drew it over here, I wanted to remember to point this out. I see a lot of people, myself included, that just kind of draw knuckles like this, and they wonder why it doesn't look right. I wonder why. This is why the knuckle. See that wave in there? It actually comes, well, what it looks like to me with the shadows, down, up, and around. It's almost like this stretched out M or W shape, and it almost just repeats like that. If you see it here, and that's why it's so important to do what I did over here. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell you to trace or, copy stuff like that, but there's some learning to be done by studying these shapes, and then once you do that, then you embellish it and make your own style. So that's what I'm trying to say. And again, I'll use the nail of the thumb here to show direction. To me, it helps define the shape. Get some nice little cool wrinkles in here. And what I should have did is sketch this more, like kept it really sketchy and loose, which I still can, but it's better to me to do that, really rough things in, fast and loose, and then come back and then refine them. Um, it just helps the drawing work out better, in my opinion, and maybe even faster. Okay, so there's our fist shape, fist bump. You get some shading or something like this to show that shadow of the hand. Some really ugly shading, sorry. Okay, so now I'll soft erase that down, refine it a bit. And I'm still looking at that my reference as I'm doing this, even though I could just go straight to stylizing. Obviously I've drawn enough of these, but I'm still studying, I'm still learning. So what I'm looking at, one of the things I always want to do is I want to over exemplify. I don't know if that's the right word. Over accentuate the knuckles, and they're really not that way a lot of times. It's real easy to want to go like this, basically. Over animated kind of boxy knuckles or whatever. And if you see here, there's some really subtle slopes. So it's good to take notice of that. The other thing that I want to take notice of is this real fleshy kind of bump there on the index finger. It's real easy again to want to just go knuckle, line, line, and again look back and go, why is it an uninteresting shape? And that's why. And I kind of did that, so I'm gonna erase that down. And there should be that nice organic looking fleshy kind of bump there. And little things like that go a long ways when drawing this stuff. So refrain from straight lines. Obviously, there's almost no straight lines in nature, um, or maybe there's none. I don't know. I can't think of any straight lines in nature or the human body. So okay, so now that little bump of shadow there. The other good thing is to show separation of line weight. So, maybe a thicker line weight where it comes up to the knuckle area there, or recesses behind the thumb, and you kind of see that over there. Stuff like that creates more depth in your line art and your drawing. And apparently I needed practice on this pose because it's actually taken me longer than I thought to draw such a simple design. But that just tells me right there, okay, time to revisit this, you know, this pose more, and this, I got to study hands more. That's kind of why I wanted to do this video too. I had a request or two to do more hands, but then I got requests to do all kinds, and I actually have a list growing, so forgive me if I'm taking time to get to your request. I'm trying to get actually where I take a couple requests of the same video and then produce it. And hands are always a big one, but honestly, the request kind of came from me too because I need to get better at hands. Hands are one of those things where I think as an artist you'll never sit back and go, yes, I did it. I perfected the human hand. You're just always going to grow and get better at it as time goes on. Gain a better, understanding of how the hand works, and and I love drawing them. There's like big intriguement there to the way the mechanics of the hand work for me. So there's that, and you're also using this as a way to get a little bit of clothing practice. Couple little wrinkles and folds there. That's another thing, but I do have a couple videos on wrinkles and folds, but I'll revisit that too. Okay, so let's pan back and see what that looks like. So I think that pretty much, got it. It's not perfect, but I'm not going for perfection here. Come on. Whoa. Yeah, in the ballpark. It doesn't line up exactly, but that's all right. And and actually, I kind of like the way that mine looks a little bit more cartoony. Like I puffined up the fingers just a bit. I made the index finger too fat up here because I was focusing on that line, but that's all right. I was doing that to, kind of point that out, but also it gives it a little bit more of a stylized look. And then I just come back in with some, nice little thin feathered lines here. I don't want to overdo it, but I could bring out the shading there of the hand, kind of push it into a little bit more dimensional space there. But yeah, so there it is. So that's my hands video for today. I appreciate you watching. If you don't mind, please like, subscribe, and share. Throw a comment below if there's something that I missed or something you got a question on. Always happy to answer. And always give me new ideas for videos so I can add them to the list and keep bringing out new content that's relevant to what you'd like to see. So thanks very much for watching. Keep drawing, keep having fun, and we'll talk to you soon.